Hi there, it's Mr. Clark. Welcome to lesson JAZ.2.2 on 4-note chords. So we have about 3 different things to talk about in here. Um, but the first thing is just to identify the chords that we're talking about. So normally when we think about 7th chords, you take a triad and then you stack another third on top of that. And we're going to basically do the same thing here. So we talked about our 6 3-note chords, our augmented, major, minor, diminished, and then our sus chord 1, 4, 5, and our major diminished 1, 3, flat 5. Again, that isn't really used on its own, but it's used as a building block here. So on top of each of those triads, we could theoretically put a major 7th. So since we're having C as the root in all of these examples, the major 7th would be B. We could have a minor 7th, B flat, or a major 6th. That's also an option that we sometimes see. And with our 6 triad bases and our 3 possible things we could put on top of them, that yields 18 combinations. 14 of them are in common use. We don't really see some of them. So just going through real quickly here, so you can also hopefully hear them. We have our C major 7, sharp 5. So 1, 3, sharp 7. And you'll notice here and here that when we talk about a major 7 in classical world, you'd usually write it out here. A triangle is going to be more common, or capital M or maj written out. That's also totally valid. I'm going to use the triangle in here because it's shorter, more compact. So we have our C major 7 sharp 5. We can also have a C dominant 7 sharp 5. 1, 3, shy, flav. That's pretty crunchy because the shive and the flav, that would be a diminished third. Sounds like a major 2nd and harmonically equivalent. And then theoretically you could put a 6th on top. 1, 3, shive, 6. But that just really strongly sounds like that scale degree 1. I don't know. You don't really see that formation. So now if you base on a major triad, you have 1, 3, 5, stav, our familiar major 7, 1, 3, 5, flav, our dominant 7, and 1, 3, 5, 6, now our C major 6 chord. You can do that. Over here, we're basing on a minor triad, 1, 3, 5, stav. So we talked about this as a theoretical possibility in classical world. Here we realize it. This happens in jazz where you have a minor chord with a major 7, and it's written like this: C minor, major 7. Parentheses make it clear that, major 7 is what we're grouping together. Over here, our familiar minor 7th chord, usually going to just use that minus sign, and our C minor 6, C, 1, 3, 5, 6. And it's important to note here that it's a minor chord with a major 6 on top. It's not a minor chord with a minor 6. Again, that half step on top, we just don't use that. At least we're not talking about it right now. So then we can base on our diminished chord, 1, 3, 5, stav. So this is not something we talked about in classical world because flat 5 to major 7 is an augmented third, sonically equivalent and harmonically equivalent to a perfect 4th, but we'll allow it now because it's a cool sound. So C diminished major 7th, our C half diminished 7, which here we're going to refer to as a minor 7 with a flat 5th. C minor 7 flat 5 is the jazz way to say it. If you say a half diminished 7, people will probably know what you mean, but they'll know that you're not a real jazz musician. Minor 7 flat 5 is the way to go. And then our fully diminished 7. 1, 3, 5, deflav, where we've respelled that major 6th as a doubly flat 7th. That's how we get our fully diminished chord. With our sus triad, really you only put a flat 7 on top of that. And you would refer to that as C7, C dominant 7, with that suspended 4. These other combinations are theoretically possible. This one's kind of tone clustery. Not totally sure why we don't use this one, but just not super common. And then over here we have our major diminished 1, 3, 5, 7. So C major 7 with a flat 5. 1, 3, flat. C7 with a flat 5, and then we don't really see this combination. That sounds like G flat is the root, and F sharp half diminished 7 chord. But anyway, so if there are multiple labels, the top one is the one that's most commonly seen. We like parentheses. Another way that you can think about them is grouping them by type, because how the triad base doesn't always represent the chord symbol well. So here we have our major type chords where we have a C major 6, a C major 7, a C major 7 that happens to have a flat 5, a C major 7 that happens to have a sharp 5. So here, augmented, major diminished, but they're still based on the major 7. We're just altering where the 5th is. Here we have our dominant type chords, all having that flat 7. So we have our standard issue dominant 7, our dominant 7 sus4, dominant 7 with a flat 5, and dominant 7 with a sharp 5. Over here, we have our minor type chords. All of these are based on the minor triad. So minor 6, minor 7, and minor major 7. And then our diminished types, where we have our C minor 7 flat 5, our fully diminished 7, and our diminished major 7. So that's another way that might be easier to conceptualize them, because then you can kind of group things together. Our major 7th, along with the 2 alterations of the 5th, our dominant 7 with the 2 alterations of the 5th, our minor triad with the 6 flat 7, natural 7, and the same thing with the diminished triad along with the 6 flat 7, natural 7. So that might be an easier way to conceptualize it. This is just a theoretical way of building them up. It's also worth noting that our 6 chords, our major 6 and our minor 6, are inversionally equivalent to other chords. So if you have your C6 chord, you have C, E, G, and A. If you put A as the root, you can stack that up in thirds as an A minor 7. Same idea here. Minor 6 is the same as a minor 7 flat 5 by taking that top note and bringing it down, treating it as the root. But like we've talked about, normally in jazz, you expect things to be in root position, so if it's presented like this, then it's a decent assumption that that's going to be the root. So, and depending on the context, like if you're coming at this from a 5 chord, a G7, and then you end up, then that sounds like C is going to be 1. With just a little decoration on top. So, that's what is going on here. I'll see you next time for even more chord tones.